Okay, today we have a Leica IIIc. This was a body that was somewhat evolved from some of their earlier cameras, and it had a thousandth of a second shutter speed, top shutter speed. It still had two dials for shutters. It had 1 through 30 on this lower knob, and then it had 40, 60, 100, 200, 500 to 1,000. So not the typical shutter speed that we're used to on the top dial. Simple rewind, simple advance, and a shutter and a rewind, and that's pretty much all you needed on this camera. No self-timer. The issue is I picked it up at an estate sale and they said it had a recent clean lube adjust, and the paperwork said it did have that, but it was 2004. And that seems kind of recent to me considering it's the 2000s, but they didn't use it a lot, and it's now 11 years later, and the shutter, every shutter I set it to, 100 sounds the same as a 40, which sounds the same as a 30, which sounds the same as a second. So I don't think the shutter is working, or these speed dials have problems. And it may be an easy fix for somebody, but it's not something that I want to put the money into and invest in. So it's something that I'll let go and somebody else can put the work into them. But somebody changed the leather on this one, and you can sort of see it's got these folds in it. It's not very well put on. It's kind of coming off. So, when you're looking at a camera, notice those things. Those are bargaining chips for you when you're looking and talking about what can you do about getting a good price. But at the same time, it tells you that they've been worked on, and like I said, the covering is really pretty poorly done on this. From a distance, no one's going to notice it, and everything's not about pretty in this business. It's about making photographs, I know. It has a removable reel. Make sure any Leica Barnack camera you buy has this, because without it you can't load a roll of film. The way you load it is you have to cut the film into a different shaped leader than what is commonly used on 35mm film from the factory. And there are guides to show you how many sprockets to cut. And there's also a guide right here on the base of the camera. But do make sure you do that, because it makes it so that it's got a really long leader, and so you can fish it through from the supply reel to the take-up reel and not damage the shutter when you're placing it in through this slot, because the camera does not have a back that opens. The back is solid. You have to feed it through that space to load it. And it's not terribly difficult, but it's a little bit challenging at first, and it's a little bit daunting. It's something you can certainly do. You're probably not going to change film very quickly in the field, but most of us who are shooting 35mm aren't shooting this camera and banging through rolls of film we're expecting to. Again, make sure it has that reel. If not, you can buy one, but you'll pay another $20 for one. Then this closes up well. This one's, like I said, a nice looking shape from the chrome part. It needs probably a better work done on it from the leather side, or just live with it, because it's done, and it's if it were working I would use it as is, but it's just not working. So again, everything I talk about on these shows is you're buying a camera to use, check shutter speeds. It's a bargaining chip. If you show the person who's selling it, look, the shutter speeds are all identical. The difference between a 1 second and a 1/8 of a second and a 5/100 of a second is certainly something that you can hear the difference, and this one doesn't change no matter what shutter speed I set it at. All right, that's the Leica IIIc. There's a club down in Boulder who really loves having this kind of a camera with a small rangefinder collapsible lens, because they say from a biking point of view, it's a great camera to throw in your saddlebag, and it doesn't take up the room of an M camera. And they are a lot less expensive. So if you find one of these, I like these a lot. It has two viewfinders. The left viewfinder is a area where you look through to get the focus right through the rangefinder of the lens. The right side is the actual viewing viewfinder, and you actually compose with the right. So you move your eye from left to right. It's a little bit slower than having it all in one viewfinder like they developed in the M system, but it works okay. And the rangefinder for focusing on the left actually has a diopter built in, so you can make it corrected for your vision with this little knob right here. So pretty well made as far as they didn't figure out how to put a rangefinder patch on yet, and they work well. I've shot both Leica M's and these, and the quality of these is just as good, and they certainly are a lot less expensive. Make sure you find one with a shutter that's working. All right, that's the Leica 3C. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you have one of these, can you send me some pictures? We'll put them on the link below, and I'd love to share them with everybody. And your comments about them are always welcome. Thanks for watching and subscribing, and I'll bring you more soon. Thanks again.